What's up, travel lovers? I have big news. I bought a van. Am I joining Vanlife? I don't know yet, but I know I'm gonna create this amazing adventure mobile. I'm gonna do a whole conversion. I'm gonna bring you guys along with me for the ride. And in this first video, I wanna share with you guys how to pick the right van for your needs, what size, what height, what brand. I wanna share with you the process that I went through for buying my van in Europe, the Czech Republic specifically, and ultimately which van did I choose to go with. But to find out that, you're gonna have to watch till the end of the video or fast forward. Okay, so you now know that you want to buy a van. There are so many things to think about. First of all, do you buy new or do you buy used? Well, this really depends on your budget and also how much you're sure you want to do this. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, the idea sounds amazing, but until you go do something for a while, it's hard to tell how much you will actually love it. I've learned this lesson a few times in my life. But I've done tons of research and I really want this. My original plan was to buy one that was 3 to 5 years old and have under 200,000 kilometers. That was, or 250,000 kilometers. Mind you, these vans, they can get sometimes 1,000,000 kilometers or 600,000 miles. They're not the average car. They are actually made for transporting things. Also, one thing to think about is how much money you're willing to invest on the interior or additional things that you might also be putting on the exterior of the van. I kind of have a rough estimate. I'm hoping to spend around 5,000 to 8,000. Mind you, I'm trying to keep a very simple, I'm not actually going to be living in this van. It's really going to be to go on trips and to go kind of glamping. I think is the best way to say it. I want to take my mountain bike, I want to take some toys, some camping gear. I really want to enjoy being off the grid, into nature. So I'm trying to do a minimal build, but if you're actually trying to live in it and work out of this van, chances are you could be spending, $12,000, $15,000 with the remodel of your van, depending on what things it is you're wanting. Now, obviously, it makes no sense to spend $12,000 to $15,000 making the inside and the outside of the van look nice if the van's already 15, 20 years old on its last leg. It just doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of videos on YouTube, search that out. People buy their vans, they make their vans, and they break down or the engine busts, and then right away they got $5,000 they've got to spend, or they're stuck wherever their car broke, or wherever the van broke down. So I think that if you were able to buy a newer van, chances of recouping your money are probably much higher. I just thought that if I did this for a couple years, I should still be able to recoup most of the value of the van. Even if someone doesn't want to do van life or use it as a caravan, they should still be able to use this van for its everyday use. And this is going into my planning of how I'm going to make my van too. Now, after a couple of years, if I really like it, probably make some changes. So the only changes that I really plan on making that I think might deter someone from buying my van if I decide I don't want it is I'm going to be putting 2 vent holes. So there'll be 2 windows in the roof. But I think if you're using it as a business cargo van, I think there's no negative to that. Unfortunately, in the Czech Republic, there's no law against lying about the amount of kilometers or miles that the engine has been run. So there's no real way of proving this unless there's records. And as I started looking for these vans that were in that age range, as I got down to make a purchase, it always came out that the entire records of these vans had been erased, that there was 0 record. And to me, the fact that something has 0 record that's pretty sketchy. You know, there's zero record. Chances are that they did cheat, and because there is a law and everyone knows this, you know, I think it's pretty common practice in the Czech Republic for people to lie about the kilometers or mileage. Because of this, it made me feel a little uneasy, and as I kept looking, I was able to find a really good deal, and I did end up buying new. But again, this is totally up to you. There's nothing wrong with used. This is actually the only new car I've bought in my entire life, and I've had, I had a lot of cars. I've probably had 7 or 8 cars at least. Pros of new, peace of mind. You know that it's new, you know no one else has ridden it before, all the parts are new. Other pro is it's got a warranty, which is great. You know, it's sometimes 2 to 3 years depending on where you're going and X amount of kilometers or miles. 3, that new car smell. And then the cons for new are obviously this is the most expensive you're ever going to pay for the van. So the pros of buying used is you save money. Obviously, someone else took the initial hit. But that's the only one. So I think in this particular situation, buying new, if you can afford it, makes sense. I know it's not the answer you wanted to hear, it's not the answer I wanted to hear, but I came to terms. Alright, the single most important thing when choosing the van is which size. You know, most of these commercial vans, there are some exceptions, but most of the commercial vans come in 3 to 4 different lengths, as well as 2 to 3 different heights, meaning how long the van is versus how high the van is. They have different options, and almost all the brands have at least 3 lengths and at least 2 heights, and some of them have 3 heights and some of them have 4, and I even believe one van has a 5th length, which is the super long. Well, when I looked at all the numbers, the price difference is not so much. You do pay a little bit more for the longest and the highest, but if you're going to be traveling and some people living in this thing, I'm telling you, every little bit of space matters. I really love mountain biking, and for this reason I had to go with the highest option. I didn't have to, but I wanted to, because I'm gonna have my bikes underneath the bed. I thought this was the best layout, and I'm quite tall. I'm like just under 6'2" or 186 centimeters, and I wanted to be able to stand in it. The height really doesn't change so much. Now here's one thing you have to think about when going to the higher levels. Obviously, if you start off with what they call the H1, which is the standard height, it's just like an SUV. You can park this thing anywhere. You know, there's virtually no limitations as to where you can park this thing in regards to ceiling. As you get to the higher, the H3, well, your opportunity to park inside parking garages is pretty much zero. You are now going to be over almost any parking garage height requirements. And keep this in mind, because when you're driving, if you're not paying attention, you will whale the top of this thing, and it'll probably be expensive. So you really have to know your height, and when you go places, you need to be thinking, what is the maximum height allowed and to where you're going. And now with the length, you run into a different problem. As you go to the longest one, parking this thing now becomes a pretty big challenge. And I don't mean in terms of where you're allowed to park, but more in terms of how to park the vehicle. It requires some skill. I even valet parked for many years, and I'm quite good at reversing cars in, and basically this thing is tough. The turns very slow. That's the other thing too, is when you're turning and you're driving in the city, the longer the van, it takes an adjustment period. It drives different than a normal car. It's something to think about. You know, if you're afraid of this, maybe going with the longest one isn't the best. But just go to a dealership or one that you're looking at and drive a long one. And just keep in mind, it takes longer to turn left or right. You basically got to go straight and then start turning, because if you do a sharp turn, the side wall of that thing can wail on street signs, parked cars. So as the van does get longer, also turning around is not so easy. You know, sometimes you actually have to pull in somewhere and reverse and make a 2-point turn. It's your only option. Or sometimes you have to go around a whole parking lot to the back to find a place where you can park easily. Because parking these things into a normal spot is difficult. And at the longest one, you're hanging out 3 feet or a meter outside the parking spot, which won't fly in the city. Private parking lots, they're not probably going to say anything if you're not spending the night there. I would suggest getting the longest and the highest version. This just gives you so much more cubic space, and even the fuel efficiency stays pretty close. It's not it's not a big hit like you would think it was. Just having extra space is always going to be wanted. It gives you more opportunities. You know, unless you know that you're not going to be traveling with things like bikes, or you don't want to take big items with you, if you just want to be super stealth, well, here's the funny thing. If you want to be super stealth and you just need a bed, there's plenty of cars or minivans, I would suggest. Save you money and stuff like that. But I would only suggest doing the van if you're really wanting more things, if you're wanting to put a kitchen in, if you're wanting to store large items, or you want to go with adventure gear, or you want to go with picnic table and extra tent and fun stuff, which to me is the whole reason for doing it. Then you want more space. The more space, the more stuff you can take, the more people you can take, the more fun you can have. There's so many threads on this as to which brand or which model, which car is the best. There isn't an answer. When I was looking, before I finally purchased, I was looking for the best deal I could get. And there were brands that I would consider were more popular or reliable. Now, this isn't something that's even quantifiable. It's just how you feel. And there's also depends on where you are. If you're in North America versus Europe, which is most of the places where Vanlife is really growing. I'm in Europe, so the brands, obviously Mercedes, very respected, but they're also the most expensive. I didn't want to spend that kind of money for Mercedes, but it's kind of known as the top one, the Mercedes Sprinter. After that, the Volkswagen Crafter. So I was really looking at Volkswagen Crafters. I was looking at Ford Transits, and the Fiat Ducato, which is also is identical to the Peugeot Boxer, and the Renault something. I'll add it. And then in the States, which is also actually in the United States or North America, those three are equal to the Dodge ProMaster. I personally liked, my perfect combination was the Ford Transit, because I liked the way it looked. It was popular within the van life community, so tons of people used it, which made me think that more things would come available. Ford's been around forever. I thought it was the best budget. It was the best resaleable, lots to choose from, desirable look, And it was relatively budget friendly. It wasn't the cheapest one, but it was substantially cheaper than the Mercedes Sprinter, and then I'd say the next most expensive is the Volkswagen Crafter. So I was like, if I could get a Volkswagen Crafter, similar kilometers and years old to a Ford Transit, and they're the same price, I probably would have bought the Volkswagen Crafter. So, real quick, about the brands, don't think about it too much. It really doesn't matter. Try and find a good deal, and if there's certain things, certain vans don't make the high 3. So if you want the level 3 height, not all the vans carry it. So those will also determine which vehicles you want. Also, if you're wanting something like 4-wheel drive, that is something else that might only be offered by 1 or 2 of the manufacturers. If you're like me, you might be buying this van in a foreign country. Each country is different, so before you buy anything, try to learn about what it is you will need in order to make this purchase. The information normally is easy to find online. If you're buying it from a dealership, this is really nice. They'll help you out with this process because they want to sell that car. So they can do a lot of that stuff that would be a huge hassle if you were buying from a private person. They're going to make sure that everything has been legally squared away with the purchase. Like all big purchases, there are normally a handful of unexpected costs, and they can add up. So before you make that purchase, try to find out what these are. To give you an example, in the Czech Republic, you are required to have winter tires on your automobile, I think from November to April-ish, or maybe the dates even fluctuate. But my point being is that I needed to, as soon as I bought it, I needed to buy winter tires, which, if you're not super new to driving, a set of 4 tires is normally going to cost you at least $100 a tire, if not up to $150. These are standard tires. If you're trying to go off-road tires, well, wow, it gets expensive fast. But to give you an example, right as soon as I bought it, there was that unexpected cost of having to buy an extra pair of tires and where to store the non-winter tires. I chose a new van. I chose the Peugeot Boxer L4 H3. I got a really great deal. I got exactly what I needed. It was brand new, my first, most expensive toy ever. And I can't wait to get out there. First thing I'm going to do is be making a series of the entire build out, so please subscribe now if you want to keep watching as I build out my whole van. And I'm planning to do these videos a dummy's guide to van life. It'll basically, I'm going to take all the information because there's lots of videos out there. I'm going to watch all the videos, take the best tips from the best people that have done it, and try and consolidate it so that hopefully you can learn this quickly. If you have a favorite van, please leave it in the comment box below. Tell me why. I hope you liked this video. I got my Peugeot Boxer just outside Prague at Auto do Czech. These guys were amazing. They made the entire process seamless and easy, and I barely speak Czech, so I really owe them a big thank you. Thank you everyone that helped me out. So until next time, safe travels.
Don't leave yet. There's tons of great videos to keep watching. More importantly, did you subscribe yet?